You're right, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Muscle Owl Talks. I'm here for this episode with Hannah Soyer. Hannah from Iowa in the US.
Yes, correct. Hello.
And Hannah, you've got a new project. Do you want to, it's taking place next week. Do you want to explain it?
Sure. So I am holding a community art workshop called This Body is Worthy. And basically I had the idea this past summer to do something like this. And so it started with my photographer friend and me getting together. And I explained to her what I wanted to do. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And so basically it started with photos of me in which I wrote, "This body is worthy." I wrote that phrase on different parts of my body. I think I wrote it on my back and on my chest and on my feet. And there's the cat. Yeah, so basically I wanted something that was like celebrating bodies that are deemed maybe like unworthy or aren't fitting into whatever society deems to be worthy or deems to be acceptable. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. And then I knew that I wanted to involve other people in it as well. So I figured that I would have a community art workshop. So I knew that definitely that idea of a body not being worthy or deemed not worthy or not acceptable by society, definitely something that the disability community could relate to. But I wanted that to be something that was more broad and something that many people could relate to. Because I think it is something that probably 99% of our society could relate to. And so I wanted to involve as many people as possible. So again, I talked with my photographer friend and I was like, hey, what about blocking out 3 hours of a night, reserving a place, and then inviting people over to, the community art center and telling them, explaining to them what the project is about, and then having them write a message. Either they can write "This body is worthy" or they can write something like it and then have their photo taken.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And in terms of what I thought was fascinating about it when I first saw it is that it was really challenging the perspectives and ideas of beauty that we have in our society. And I think that we're going through a lot of things in our society right now where, we're seeing things like people saying, oh, curvy's sexy. This isn't the only stereotype of sexy. But I still think, well, we're just changing our ideals in that sense. We need to be completely open to all different types of ideas of beauty. What's your view on that?
So earlier today I was doing the Skype call with 3 other women that I'm doing that panel with for women with disabilities, sex, and beauty. And this idea came to me of how any beauty standard a society has, and that's always changing, like you said, there's always a new fad. It's always based around an ideal body. And of course that changes.
Yeah.
But it's still the idealized body. And so beauty standards change, but I think unless somewhere down the road we are in a society where the beauty standard is what we see now as disabled bodies, it's always going to have a standard. There's always going to be that standard. And I think people with physical disabilities, for the most part, physical disabilities, there we go, those are always going to be outside of that standard. And so I think that we have a very unique perspective on that, because ideally, like what you were saying, a society should be able to recognize beauty outside of that standard. There shouldn't even be the standard.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, it's almost let's just go all the way to the other end and look at a body that is so far outside of the standard. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
People are not performing correctly tonight.
No, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, you have SMA type 2, and what I was going to say is growing up with SMA type 2, how did your ideas of beauty change over time in comparison to what you see the rest of the world seeing beauty?
Well, I think that every teenager goes through a phase where they just feel like absolute shit about themselves and absolute shit about their body. And
regardless of whoever they are.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And I think, and I hesitate to say this, but I think that's more true with women than with guys. And the only reason I say that is because
in a different way, certainly in a different way.
In a different way, yes. And I used to think, no, that's not true at all. Like, I think it's just, I think it, affects everybody the same. But there was an instance a couple years ago where someone posted in the Living with MD Facebook group something about like, hey, who in here struggles with body image issues? And a bunch of women commented on it and said that they did. And a bunch of men commented on it and said that no, that wasn't a problem for them. So I'm thinking either it wasn't a problem for them or they hadn't acknowledged that it was a problem for them.
That's another side. That's right. Yeah, that is interesting. In terms of the photos themselves that your friend took, I think one of the, like they're really amazing photos, and I think obviously there are parts of your body that make them stand out particularly. For me, looking at those photos, it's almost like a project of pride as much as a project of anything else. It's having pride in who I am and saying I'm beautiful regardless. Obviously with your scar on your back from your spinal surgery, things like that. I think, it's brilliant in that sense, isn't it?
Yes. And I think that the nature of how that photo shoot, I guess if that's what you want to call it, went is my friend Mary, who took the photos, she had 2 weeks in Iowa City before she had to go to DC for an internship. So we were really scrambling to do everything. And so it was like, hey, are you free today? Do you want to come over? I'll take my shirt off. I'll write on my body. Let's do this. So it was very not prepared, I didn't do my hair. I didn't do my makeup. It was just very off the cuff, which I think was good. I think that's the way it needed to be. Yeah. Because I think if it would have looked more put together, then it that just wouldn't have been authentic, and it wouldn't have been actually embracing
that's the thing. It would have been contradictory to the notion of natural as beautiful.
Right, exactly. Where they are. Yeah, and I know the other really interesting thing was I really had only ever had, right after my surgery, we took a picture of my back, when it still had all the little, Band-Aid thingies on it, and my parents were like, oh, Hannah, you've got to see this. But, I had never seen my back since then. I had never seen a photo. And so that was interesting, I guess, for me, because she took the photo, and I was like, well, can I see it? And I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And in terms of, I don't know, other people who have SMA type 2, or other people who have just muscular dystrophy, or other people who have a physical disability, what would you say to them kind of about in terms of your project, and what would you say to them in terms of how they view themselves and beauty, and in terms of the world's, society's version of it?
Well, I think that the anger or upset or frustration or depression even that is linked towards negative self-image, I think that happens when we buy into this idea of there is an idealized body, or there is the perfect body. And it's super hard not to buy into that, because we're living in a society that feeds us that idea every single day, wherever we go. Yeah. So, I think that ultimately I don't know. I don't really think it's like a slow process of learning to love yourself. I think it has to happen almost in an instant, because you suddenly like wake up, or you're like, well, this is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to buy into this. So therefore, like, my body is perfect the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know, I also think like you can tell people that as many times as you want, and they're not going to believe it for themselves until they actually are able to do that.
Yeah. I think it is about putting the right things out there time
Yeah.
and again, and eventually something clicks.
Also, as far as like in relation to this project, I really decided, after speaking to a bunch of different friends that I have across the country that really would like to take part in this, but obviously can't come to the actual workshop, that I really want people to contribute photos themselves. And I know that it's like, you know, not realistic to expect a professional photographer or even someone with, you know, like a Canon to go and take the photos.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, I think like any photo is going to be great. And so, yeah, call for submissions, I guess.
In the comments below. Email it. Message
yes.
it.
Yes. Well, no, I have, and that, yeah, there's more information that I put today in the event, I think, like with my email that people can send it to, and just like ideas of what they could do or phrases they could have.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. We'll put a link to that above so people can check that out. Yeah, that's brilliant. Hannah, let us know how it all goes, and hopefully, well, we'll chat about this next week or the week after about, how it was, and hopefully society's perception of beauty will all have been completely radicalized by that point. We'll all be...
I can only
hope. Awesome. Thanks so much, Hannah, and thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.